Every once in a while, a game comes along that sets a new standard. Your Half-Lifes, Call of Duties, games like that. For VR, Boneworks was that game. Boneworks showed what was possible and set people's hopes high for the future of VR. A future that has yet to come. Hello, greetings, and salutations. I am a running bird, and this is my review of Into the Darkness, created by Cosmos Games and 9 Live Studios. Into the Darkness is a game that has been on my radar for quite some time. In fact, I actually had high hopes for it, especially since it seemed to take inspiration from my favorite VR game, Boneworks. So you can imagine my excitement when I saw that on May 29th that the game had finally released into early access. I, however, at the time, had just begun a vacation and wouldn't get to play the game until June 3rd, 5 days after its initial release. And honestly, if I were to describe the experience in one word, I would say it was disappointing. And yes, my day was ruined. But to understand why it was disappointing, you first need context. Into the Darkness first started making the rounds on the internet around 2021. At this time, I discovered the game, and after reviewing its very promising trailer, which showcased such things as AI interaction, dismemberment, NPCs capable of wielding weapons, and most importantly, physics, I decided to wishlist the game. Flash forward 5 years, and the game finally goes into early access, and this early access costs $20 US. Now, I understand that game development can be expensive, but your price sets a standard. It sets an expectation. People expect that your game is going to be as good as other $20 VR games. And mind you, this game is far from complete. There's 3 enemy types currently from what I can tell. The campaign is only halfway done, and there's barely any weapons. So, at the very least, you would expect the game's core mechanics to be done and worthy of that $20. That was not the case.
Oh, that actually feels pretty good. Yeah, that's... Oh, no. Uh-oh.
To fully explain the issues of Into the Darkness, I have decided to break down my own playthrough, though I couldn't even play the game through, as you will soon see.
No, I can't go back. I beg you.
And explain some of the issues I encountered. With that said, the game begins with a simple tutorial that has you set up your player and play around with some of the weapons. This section, in terms of gameplay, was fun. However, some issues I did notice was that firstly, the game failed to spawn in a bow to go along with the arrows provided.
This is not... Wait, there's no bow here. It's just... You gave me a bow, but no arrow? Wait, no. You gave me arrow, but no bow.
Though there's a good chance that the bow isn't even in the game.
Yeah, that works.
The second thing I noticed was that the game didn't provide ammo for one of the guns. These issues, while mundane on their own, could signify that the game has a wider issue with properly spawning items, so I felt it necessary to mention them. The tutorial ends after you defend against a horde of robots for a certain amount of time. After said time, the robots die immediately, and you are automatically moved to the next level.
Damn, I'm good.
The next level is also a tutorial. I know, the critiques write themselves.
You. You're mine. Let me over here. You're mine.
But gameplay-wise, there weren't many issues for most of this level. Until one point where you get to a door that simply doesn't open, and this stupid doctor just looks at you unwittingly, and you run around for 10 minutes trying to figure out how to open the door, until you decide to just slap the doctor, and guess what? The doctor just goes and unlocks the door.
Wait, what? That worked? I just had to slap you?
So yeah, that was not only frustrating, but also a waste of my time. In fact, there was so little instruction in this section that I'm not even sure if it was a glitch. Maybe I wasn't supposed to slap the doctor. Maybe it wasn't even me slapping the doctor that fixed it. But moving on, after that, we go through some more tutorials until we reach the next issue. There were some minor issues in between, but I'll get to those.
I found the glitch. I did it.
Our next issue is a small one, but considering how this feature is supposedly integral to the game, I saw it fit to mention. During the tutorial on hacking, you are instructed to insert a cable from your arm to a port on a computer, which it doesn't tell you where the port is, or even the computer, so you have to find it. And mind you can't do this while holding anything, because you'll just switch the thing you're holding over to the other hand. However, in my playthrough, upon inserting the cable into the computer, it immediately disconnected and then still worked anyway. And no, this is not how it's supposed to work because the trailers explicitly show it staying connected until the end of the hack. There's also actually, like, on the workshop, on the discussion pages, like the forums for this game, there's actually some people who had issues where it would, like, not work at all. I don't know if they just didn't find the right cable or something, but apparently that's an issue that showed up. Now, finally, the tutorials are over, and the game finally begins. We hop onto a VTOL, get deployed to the first mission, and we can't move. Our first enemy appears, and we are prompted, though I'd say more so forced, to kill him by either shooting him or throwing the stones he tosses at you back at him.
Try throwing a stone now, asshole. Oh, shit.
Remember how I said the tutorials were over? Yeah, me neither, because this is the slow motion tutorial, and it would be really easy if I didn't run out of ammo, because you see, slow motion in Into the Darkness does not last as long as you hold the slow motion button. It lasts only for a set period of time, which means you have to, and I do mean have to, perfectly time your slow motion or you will fail to catch the rock. And that's not even mentioning that you have to perfectly throw the rock back at the robot, which isn't easy if you're trying not to punch a wall in real life. But that's fine. At least we can get past this section. It just takes a little bit of time and practice. That's fine. So after you stone the stoner, you jump up some rocks using a questionable jumping mechanic and then come face to face with an ice slope and some rope. That's right. You guessed it. It's the rope tutorial. All you gotta do is climb up the hill using the rope. Simple and easy.
Give me the rope. Oh no, this rope is cursed.
Remember at the beginning how I said I never managed to play through the entire game? Yeah. This is why. It is completely impossible for me to progress after this. And trust me, I tried. Almost half of my gameplay footage is me running up this hill. It is simply impossible to get past these glitching ropes. But why are they glitching? Well, simple. Physics. Let's talk about the game's physics. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it works because I'm not familiar with Unreal or with how rigs work, but I think it's safe to assume that whatever issue affects the ropes affects the rigs as well. And if you ask me, it probably has something to do with the way the connections work on the ropes being similar to the ways the bones of a rig work, and when those connection points get stretched too far, the physics engine can start tweaking. Of course, Into the Darkness isn't the only game with this problem. I actually have 2 videos on my channel showcasing this kind of issue in Bonelab. However, unlike Bonelab, where it was actually hard to break the rigs, this game will do it for you at the low cost of $20. I didn't actually hate it. In fact, whenever I found a new way to mess around with the NPCs, I usually just sat there giggling like a madman. To highlight some of my favorites.
Research Department. Pioneer in the field of augmented cytogenetics. Current status, MIA.
This is so fucking stupid. Beware. You don't know how powerful I am. The joust, motherfucker.
And of course,
With a special scanning device to aid you.
You can
Hand close to either of your ears.
another fun little instance of the physics tweaking out was related to the AI that accompanies you.
Oh, wow, okay.
The developers decided to give the AI jiggle physics. And that's all well and good. I won't judge you for having an AI girlfriend, but sometimes the physics glitch out and the results are humorous.
Correct. There's a magic
That's fucking the way it's glitching. Oh my god.
Moving on from that, it's the part you've all been waiting for, the weapons. The guns. I used 3 guns during my time in Into the Darkness, the shotgun, the AK knockoff, and the Desert Eagle. I don't even fucking know what this is. It was alright. I mean, it was kind of cool. My only real complaint was how you had to use the grip button for everything. You couldn't use the trigger button to load the gun, grasp ammo, or even pull the charging handle. Also, the way the gun stuck to your controller was weird and the bullets kind of felt unimpactful, but I mean, they're robots. The suspension of belief. The melee, however, was less than perfect. A common problem in physics-based VR games is making melee feel impactful, since you as the player literally cannot feel the impact. Some games go about this by limiting how your character can move, others making it so that swinging your controller faster deals more damage. Into the Darkness, however, decided to make it so that if you do so much as even tap someone with a knife, they're instantly punctured and dead.
rating speed
throw.
Initiate particle velocity by holding
That's funny.
To contrast this, if you try to be like me and hit them with a blunt melee weapon, they just sort of shrug it off. And for two-handed melee weapons, if you hold it with two hands, then your arms start acting like the ropes and get noodly,
No.
which practically forces you to hold two-handed weapons one-handed. But that sucks because they gave melee weapons weight, so now you can't swing it as well. And I forgot to mention, how hard did I throw that rock? Did you see what it did to that guy? I practically underhand tossed it. Not to mention that I don't even think this game has inertia. In case you don't know, in most physics-based VR games, your character's on an invisible ball and rolls around, which creates inertia using the in-house physics system available in most game engines. But in Into the Darkness, when you jump, the character flies forward, which makes no sense because not only does it make jumping annoying, but you can't jump straight up. And if this game had inertia, then you would just be able to roll forward on that invisible ball and then jump straight up, letting the physics of the game engine carry you forward. So there would be no reason to launch the character forward when they jump. You know, food for thought. Lastly, there were some problems with the sound.
Button.
Exhibit A.
Oh.
I don't know if their goal was to make me feel the heat of this fire, but I sure did after my PC exploded. And if you remember the
Brain blast.
Now, as I was saying,
well, that's not all your hands can do. Did you fucking write that? Did I write that? And if you remember the brain blast, well, that's not all your hands can do. That's the fucking grossest thing I think I've ever written in a script, which is actually not that bad. That's pretty good. The fact that's the worst thing I've written in a script. They can also rupture your eardrums.
My ears.
I had my volume at the lowest it could go during this. I don't even want to know what would have happened if I didn't. So, as you could hear, and amazingly sometimes see, there's a bit of a volume problem with some of the game's sounds. But I'm not done yet. I've got a few more minuscule nitpicks, and these ones are actually nitpicks. Firstly, there was only one handle on the helicopter doors in the third level.
what's going on.
Secondly, the health bar on your hand looks like Half-Life Alyx's. And thirdly, the brain blast works completely different than it did in the trailer. I have to admit, I actually did have high hopes for Into the Darkness. I even went ahead and wrote the intro to this video before playing it, though you may have noticed that I, didn't use that script. Overall, Into the Darkness is alright. I mean, I know I did just say it was unplayable, but after perusing the Steam community page, I discovered that apparently there was a way to unsoftlock the game by lowering my resolution, which likely would have fixed the melee and NPC rigs from glitching out as well, but in my defense, this game cost $20. I really shouldn't have to do that for a $20 game. It is still a bug. Would I recommend Into the Darkness in its current state? No. Not really. No, I wouldn't. This game is far too buggy and far too expensive for those bugs. It really does need more fine polish. I am, however, excited to see what this game turns into when they refine it more. And if you want to buy the game purely to support that final product, then it's up to you. However, for those looking to find the next big VR title, Into the Darkness isn't it. Not yet, at least. Thank you for watching, and have a splendid day.